Dog Films presents Paid to Dream with Charles Dennis.
Good morning. This is
Good morning.
Haha. I got to tell
It
you,
is a good
they know
morning.
who you are, but they may not know who I am. This is Charles Dennis with Paid to Dream, and the man over on the left side of the screen, but it may be the right later on, is Corbin Bernsen, whom I had the pleasure of working for as an actor several years ago in a film that he wrote and directed called Donna on Demand. And as I recall, that came about because our mutual friend Neil Dixon, who worked with your wife on AD years before, this incredible tapestry, he said, "You want to work for a day?" I said, "Oh, sure, why not?" And off I went. And I
There we
played a guy
go.
called Charlie
We made a
because,
strange little movie.
well, that was that's one of the great stories of financing that I've ever heard.
Yeah,
Well,
just gosh, I don't know how did we find what did I pay for that one? Is that the great story? I can't remember that
isn't that
one.
the one where there was some kind of competition in
Oh,
Saskatchewan?
yeah, yeah. No, yeah. That isn't actually how it got financed, but how
Oh,
it got to be. It's a super long story, but I was up in a small town in Canada. And I was involved in a thing called One Red Paperclip, which was an online trading um, uh, thing to a kid had started a blog called One. It's very, very long and complicated. I'm trying to get to it. I ended up in a small town in Canada, and basically, I had committed to doing a film with somebody up there. That film didn't happen up there, but I did find a kid that was very, very good. I brought him down to America, gave him his first chance. He was a Canadian kid to be in this film called Donna on Demand. If you want to look up oneredpaperclip.com, you can see the whole history of how I got involved in a little town up there. But they didn't want to make the movie Donna on Demand that I wanted to make because it was a bit racy. So I said, I'll tell you what, we'll make another movie up here. But I'm going to take your young guy and come down to the States and make a movie and make him a movie star. Not sure what ever happened with him, but
I think it's his only credit. I checked.
yeah, I think so.
Give him a shot. He can talk about it the rest
You
of
know
the
what? I give you the shot. You got to run with it. Yeah. He's lucky he got the shot.
So did you not go back to that same town and make Rust?
Yes, I went back there. So again, it's very
I
hard to
have to
explain how I
say,
got there,
it's
but
a
I got
lovely,
there through this
lovely
thing
work.
called One Red Paperclip, and I was committed to this town to making a film up in their small little town. They didn't like Donna on Demand because they didn't not like it, but it was a small little town, 1,100 people and 7 churches. Enough said. Donna on Demand was not the right project to do up there, so I went and made it in back in L.A. And I wrote another film for them called Rust. I went up there and they actually funded that movie. That's the one they actually funded. A small little town up in Canada, which was my first faith-based movie. And I made about seven of them after that, where I sort of, I didn't, what do you call it? Sort of come to Jesus faith-based movies did very well for a while, were really big. So it was a good area to be in. I unfortunately couldn't just go all the way to all the things that go into that mine was more of an exploration of faith, an honest exploration, study of faith in our lives, the role it plays, the dangers of it, taking it too far, and without creating any, you're wrong, I'm right, you're right, I'm wrong, without creating any of that. I just wanted to explore the notion of faith in our life, which I still do on some level, but I couldn't go make faith-based movies. I couldn't deliver, come to Jesus and your life will be perfect. That wasn't the movies I was making. So I had my little, sort of almost 7 or 8 years of exploring it. And a lot of it came about after my father died. And I was just curious, sitting with a bag of ashes and thinking like, what does it all mean? It was the first time in my life. I was in my early 50s then.
It's a little gem, that movie, but you're the only professional actor in it. I
Right.
mean, I have used people on instinct saying, "Well, you'd be great," but I never act. Of course, you act. You act every day.
Right.
But you got the entire cast of non-pros, correct?
Yeah. Well, what happened was I auditioned all of them for Donna on Demand.
Ah,
And that's where I found this kid. And it was only after I told the mayor, maybe we'll have the premiere up here. And I said, yeah, I hope it plays well because it's, it's a little bit racy. I mean, Donna had some language and things in it. She goes, "Oh, it's a blue movie." No, it's not a blue movie. It's just a bit racy.
oh, blue
So, but
movie,
I
eh?
said, I said, I'm going to go make this movie in LA. That's great. And, I'm going to go down there and take your young town hero and go make a movie. And he was quite good in it. But I'll write another movie. That's why I wrote Rust. And she said, "Oh, you'll write it and shoot it up here." I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Well, what if we fund it?" I said, "I'll start writing right now." And that's why I wrote Rust. And yes, I went up there because I met so many people that were so great for the audition for Dawn on Demand, um, that I thought, I called my agent. I said, "You come up here and bring some contracts. You got to sign some people because maybe they're just rural." And, it's a funny thing. You understand this as an actor. You know, when you don't know you're acting, you don't know, and you just say, "Go feed the horse." You get an old guy Frank, who played my father in it. Go feed the horse. You just got an old guy saying, "Go feed the horse." He doesn't know he's acting, doesn't know he's acting good, bad, or whatever. He's just being honest and truthful. So what happened was I found this incredible thing that when it actually was good for my acting, you know, I've learned this recently, actually. I've stopped acting, stopped acting and started being a
Hmm.
little bit more. When we act, there's this thing of going from this world to that world. And no, you don't need to put on the clothes and the accent and put you in the space, but you still got to be. You just got to be. I mean, at the end of the day, Robert De Niro, I use it as a great example, a wonderful actor. But he just puts on different looks and wardrobe and fat and shaves his head, and he can be, and he can be anything he wants. But you kind of still getting the gut and soul of Robert De Niro coming through everything. And all actors. I'm not diminishing what you Marlon Brando. You're still getting a thing that comes through that is the actor, and that's what people are attracted to. You can put on any wardrobe, accent, stick them in Paris, stick them in hell, wherever you want to. But the thing, it's about being, and the people that are really gifted sort of take that thing of acting away from it and just start being present.
Write that down, folks. This is good stuff. Um, you grew up in a show business family. Your father, Harry, was a producer. Your mom,
Yeah.
Jeanne Cooper, was a. I'm rediscovering her in these early film noir, and I go, well, who's this? She's got. Oh, it's Corbin's mother. Because I
Right.
only knew her later on from One Life to Live or whatever she was on for a
Young
thousand
and the
shows.
Restless.
Young and
Yeah.
the Restless. Sorry.
That's all right.
Um, but and I always thought that you had made your debut in a film your dad produced called Three the Hard Way until I
Right.
discovered that you were in Clambake.
That's the thing that's out. Here's what I think happened. I can't say. My mother's gone. I can't. All the people I'd ask are gone. That's the funny thing about. There does come a time when you have a few questions left, and you go, "I just don't have anybody to ask." It's kind of frustrating. Um, my godfather, a fellow named Beach Dickerson, was very close with Roger Corman and that whole group of indie filmmakers back in the 60s, coming out of the 50s, really. And, and I have a feeling I went to a set one day and I was a baby there. And somehow my name must have been, if you're on camera, they got to write you down. And I'm a baby at the beach, and it's an Elvis movie, and it made its way into my story. And I thought, like, yeah, my first movie's with Elvis. I'm not gonna. What am I gonna dispute that? I mean, it may or may not be true. It may not be real. It may not. It's certainly not as big as it sounds. But
Well, have you ever
I thought,
watched the movie? Is there a baby there on the?
yeah, there is a baby there somewhere on the beach. On the beach, it's like a beach scene with a load of people. I should. That's a good point. I should go back and look again. I kind of don't want to really know though. I'd
No.
rather. I'd rather live the I don't know, the
Live
tale.
the legend.
Live the legend. Thank you.
Yeah. But 3 the Hard Way you do remember.
That I very much remember because my father had branched out. He was an agent and wanted to, he was tired of making a lot of other people money and decided he wanted to make money himself. And produced one of the first black exploitation movies, Three the Hard Way, with Jim Brown, Fred Williamson, and Jim Kelly, and who's a karate guy. Fred Williamson, football, of course. You know, uh, so I got a call from him. I was at San Diego State University. I flatly said, I don't want to be in this business. My parents, their lives are screwed up. There's money, there's no money, there's money, there's no, I don't want, I see it. I see all the people. I see the people who are drunks. I see all of it. I see all the dangers of it. You know, people see the bright side when they see the Academy Awards, and you just don't see the legions of people that are just fucked by this career choice, by never making it and clinging to hope and kind of ending up later in life, and they just don't, they're still dreaming. Anyway, I said, I don't want that. I want to do something more real. I want to be like my friend's parents. I want to be a lawyer. I wanted to actually go into law. Long story short, I was at San Diego State studying philosophy for pre-law. And my dad calls me up and he goes, "Hey, I'm shooting a little movie just north of where you are there between LA and San Diego. And I'd like you to come up here." And I said, "What is?" He said, "Look, I'll just read you the part. You come upon Jim Brown, or Jim Brown comes upon you and a girl that are kind of making out in the backseat of a Rolls Royce, and you just gotta like go, 'Hey man, he wants your car,' or something like that." Anyway, um, I said, "I make out with a girl." Okay. He said, "We also want to blow up your Camaro, your car." I said, "Well, that's my car." He goes, "Look, at the end of the night, I'm gonna give you $900. We're gonna give you the production van." My car was kind of a beater anyway. And he goes to make out with a beautiful girl. I said, "I'm in." I went there, made out with this girl, met Jim Brown, which was, he was sort of legendary at the time. And I saw my car get blown like 30 feet in the sky and a fireball. And my dad hands me the keys to the production van, which was equally cool in those days. Have a van, it's like hippie van. And he handed me $900. And I went, "That's it. I want to be an actor. Screw this law stuff." And told my mother pretty immediately. I said, "You know what? This is just too much. I like it." And she goes, "It's okay. You can do whatever you want. But if you want my blessing as an actor to an actor, you're going to have to go train. If you're doing it for girls or money or cars or any of that," she said, "again, I love you. I'll do whatever I can to help you, but you don't have my full support if you don't train yourself." And I dropped out of UCLA, out of San Diego State. And I don't really remember ever packing up. I just remember going to UCLA and they let me enroll in their theater program. And I was there for 7 years between that. And then I got a master's degree in playwriting. And the rest is, as they say, histoire.
But how ironic that this would-be lawyer ended up having his first great success as an actor playing a lawyer.
As curious as life is, yes. Yeah.
Did you ever have that moment, that epiphany going, wait a minute, I'm a lawyer?
Well, yeah, not only that, I mean, maybe it's imaginary how we connect our things, but I thought, yes, I'm a lawyer. I get to be a lawyer. I very much thought that it was part of that. But, now I'm doing this show, Friends and Neighbors, and in a strange way, as the series has been playing out, I'm actually playing the older version of what Arnie Becker could have was.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
so again, I'm seeing a circle come around. I'm not a lawyer in it. I'm in the investment world, but the same qualities. It's probably where Arnie Becker would have ended up with the same life problems. And
I thought the same thing about John Hamm watching it, that this is Don Draper's son.
there you
Yes,
go. Yeah,
or
right.
Don Draper himself.
Or
This
Don
is
Draper himself. Right.
the dream gone wrong.
Right. It's funny. So, I think there's so much of that in life, not to change the subject or veer off, but there's so much of places where dots connect that we can say they are out. Please, there's a dog visiting me. Out, 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 out,
You can
out.
come in. I
No,
keep the dog.
I don't know. Up here, dogs carry ticks.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't
My,
need
my
to. I'm
my
very
little
careful.
dog got attacked by a coyote 2 weeks ago, and we
Well, that's a different thing. But ticks up here jump onto the dog. They run through the grasses and they bring it inside again. So more people up here who have ticks have dogs. So we don't have a dog right now. It's Anyway, I'm finding in life this interesting thing where curiously so many dots connect. If you whether they do or they don't, it's the way we see things. I'm not sure, but it all makes me know there's a more wonderful world at play.
yes. Can we go back to L.A. law again? Because that was my first exposure to you, and Arnie Becker was such a great character. And I'm just wondering, did you have to read a number of times? Was there a lot of competition?
Oh yeah, I was actually living in New York. I had a contract with NBC. I'd read for a sitcom that I actually flew out to LA. I mean, I'm from LA, but I moved to New York for my after UCLA to do the New York theater thing, which you're supposed to do if you're an actor. Anyway, I got a sitcom. I got an audition for a sitcom. They loved me, flew me out to LA, did the screen test, and I didn't get the part. But they did say we'd like to put you under contract for a year, NBC. So that's a good thing to have. What people don't know is to get one of these series, you got to go. There's so many people that have to like you. The creators, the network has to approve you. Everybody in the world's got to approve you. But to have the network behind you was a big piece. So I went through the whole year, didn't really connect with anything. Then LA Law came, and I read the script. I remember at Rockefeller Center, great 2 hour pilot. 100 longer than normal, like 120 page, 130-page script. Incredible writing. But I really wanted, because I was doing my dark theater actor days, I really wanted to do the Cusack part that Harry Hamlin did, because he was the moral center, the guy with the moral compass and for the people and all that. And Arnie Becker was this sort of free flying LA, California, blonde hair in the wind, you know, do what you may kind of guy. And I felt much more like the Harry character, the Kuzak character. And so I read, and he goes, "That's good." I said, "Yeah, could I just try the Kuzak?" And Stephen Bochco said, "No, we've got our Kuzak. You're what we see as Becker." And I said, but he said, "Look, we've got it. Don't." My agent said, "What the fuck did you do, man? What did you talk yourself out of this part, saying you want to do this other part?" I said, "I just felt more like that part." And Stephen Bochco, in his parting words to me in that meeting, said, "Hey, look, NBC's behind you. We love you. You're great. I'm sorry you didn't connect with this part, but if you ever come out to LA, look us up." I got home. I was in a bad relationship, basically basically married, kind of a convenience marriage, and said to the girl, I said, "Stephen Bochco has asked me to come to LA. I think we're done with this marriage. I'm going to LA." Literally got in our Jeep. She went with me for whatever reason I can't recall, and we had our last final um, uh, brawl and screw in a bed in Oklahoma City at a Motel 6. I remember that. It was this last sex and last argument that existed. And then I went on to LA. And I get into LA and it's a beautiful sunny day and I'm feeling good. And I have my Jeep and I'm driving down Mulholland Highway. And in the opposite direction, in a also a white newer Jeep, this Lady Godiva is the way I remember it. Blonde hair streaming in the wind behind her. We pass each other. I'm actually running. We pass each other. She kind of looks back at me. I went, "Oh, that's Arnie Becker." And called up my agent and say, "Get me back in there." And went in the next day and got it. I understood who Arnie Becker was.
Amazing.
It's it's sort of a shortened version of it, but that's how it happened. But I had to see it. I didn't in New York, I was in a bad marriage. It's cold. I had the flu. It was February. You know, I had to get to LA and see the sunshine and Lady Godiva.
Wow. When this broadcast is over, I will tell you a companion story to the lady in Oklahoma City. Um, so, so Arnie paved the way for you. Suddenly, you were on the covers of magazines. You
Yeah. Yeah.
Was this overwhelming, or did you say yes? I welcome
I
this.
kind of said yes to Elijah, went with it. It felt good. I'm wondering why as I look back now, certainly at this point in my life, where I'm looking at my work is just so much better than it was then. I don't know back then. I didn't, I relate now more to, I feel more truthful about a guy who's my age, 71, looking at sort of the third act of your life. I feel much more in tune with me, with the world. Back then, it was like it was all just coming so fast, and it's great, and it's yeah, for a guy who never really got all the girls in school and all, everything was there, right? And I was covering magazines, this that GQ, the whole And one day I remember my sister who worked for me. I hired her to sort of be my assistant because I had so much stuff coming. She needed a job and I must have done something, but I remember her pulling me aside and said, "You know what? You're still you. You're not the hot shit you think you are, and you need to really chill out." And I went, "Whoa, whoa!" It was the first kind of slap in the face I got of like, "Hey, man, just going back and look at my mother, who's a wonderful actor, and she enjoyed her, but she never." I don't know. It's a blessing because I could have, spun out of control on ego and all of that stuff. And I really I went back in and went like, hey, I'm blessed to have this job. This is a job. I'm no better than the crew. I'm no better than the guy that's doing craft services. Certainly not her, Terry. She was wonderful. And uh, I started to really appreciate what I'm doing as a job, as a craft. And I did have a year or two, and then I got married. Not long after that, I met Amanda, and I got married. So that took me off the market for all the other crap, and which was fine because in that first year and a half, I had a lifetime's worth of adventure, and but that was about all I needed. There's the beautiful
You,
Amanda.
you got. She is a lovely lady.
I'm just doing a wonderful podcast. Go away. I'm talking
Oh, let her
nicely
be a
about you.
cameo. She can put her face in there
You
for a
can put your
second.
face in here. Come and
Come
see.
on in here.
No, she walked away.
She won't. That's it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sign the disclosure. You worked with your mom a few times. How was that?
That was great. She was good. The first I'd done it. She was in LA Law. I had her, I had an idea that she could play my mother, and that was Stephen Bochco let that happen. That was fun. But then when I started writing these little films and directing, and one of the first ones I wrote was called Carpool Guy, and I had her in it. And I remember the first day with her, she was in like right at the beginning, and we shot all day, and she was great. And so I'm directing a film that I wrote. My mother's in it. This is the world. This is what I want. And anyway, we shot. She was wonderful. I get a call that night. She goes, Corbin, yeah, hey, was that fun? She goes, well, I don't know. You didn't seem to like it. I went, what are you talking about? What do you mean I didn't like? She says, you didn't seem happy with what I was doing. I said, where are you? What I'm really lost because actually the opposite. She goes, well, you made me do it over and over and over. And I said, Mom, you're in a soap opera. You get two chances if you're lucky. If you get all the words right and 60% of them right and you hit your mark, they move on. In the world of film, and this other place outside of soap opera, you get to do takes. You get to try it this way, try it that way. We don't know what's going to work. And she wasn't used to, she hadn't done that in so long, I guess. And even in the early days, I guess it was a little bit like you get all your words right and you're halfway there. But now, certainly with when you're working with digital, you can do multiple takes. You can try, I mean, you can't, eat up the day, but so I had to say, look, you get to try different things. You get to find the character. It's fun. So that was our one little beginning. But then we worked. She was pretty much in everything I did. or wrote after that. Even after she passed, I put a little picture of her on a set that maybe nobody knows.
That's nice. I've,
Yeah,
I've done the same thing with the stuff I've directed. It's great. I worked with my mother twice, and she
really.
was a pro. She was not an actress per se, but she always, I suspected that's what she wanted to be, and she was always thrilled to be there. And yeah, it's a wonderful thing. And then we have them forever. You
Yeah,
know.
we do. We
Um,
do.
you have joined this peculiar league of psychos who are my friends. Tony Perkins, who was my best friend the last 7 years of his life. Patty McCormick, and now here you are, the dentist, Alan Feinstone.
Yeah.
You have joined the pantheon of
I
psychos.
get it's funny you're saying psychos because the television show I did called Psych, all
Yes,
the fans are called psychos. I thought you were going that direction. Yeah, I had a couple of nice little steps into the horror world with both that and Tales from the Hood. Um, but yeah, the dentist was it's funny. I look back and that was one of those roles that I went deep on. I remember that. I remember being affected. I mean, going into that crazy zone. It was really what people don't know about the dentist is, and I told this to Brian Usna, who directed it. What made it accessible for me as an actor was that my character's core problem was something so simple and human as he sees and perceives a perfection. He can make a mouth beautiful. He loves beauty. He loves beauty and art. He loves to, and his dentistry was about perfection of a smile and all that. And then he sees his wife on their anniversary with the pool man, grimy hands, dirty sludge, and he flips. So I had something very real that his world on his anniversary just was shattered. And it was it's like, I guess, I guess in the the way we call it, it was like he has that break, a psychotic break, if you will. That is what it took to just have him go like that. So once I did that, made that turn, and once I had oh the permission to it, the ticket to it by understanding how his world was shattered, it was one of the first roles I just went full on deep in and just let myself find as crazy he wanted to be. Mark Ruffalo was in those movies. Nobody knows
yes,
that.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. He played a cop. Um, anyway, it was one of the first ones where I just really, I put the whole put it all in there. And
Yes.
at that point also, now I'm married to Amanda and the love of my life and children and family, and very easy for me to understand, empathize with that, with when you have such a deep love and it's just destroyed and you witness it. Gosh, you walk in on it, you see it happening. So I could really understand where the guy went to. You know, I'm not sure that I would become a psychotic killer, but I can see the rage.
Amazing, amazing. I just want to say, I've watched you for years. I had the privilege of working for one day with you, and you're like a bottle of fine wine. You just get better and better. The work in your friends and neighbors, as you say, I just said, how does he? He's just you're just being. That's the
Right.
deal.
I'm just started being, man. I'm telling you, and I just did some work on Lincoln Lawyer, which is another show I'm doing, and I'm just two things really important. Amanda helped me with one of them. Learn your lines. As you get older, just learn the line. I operated a little bit like a lot of actors do. If I know 80% of it before I go to sleep, that night, which was always a rule. I always tried to get through all the dialogue and before I'd go to bed, at least once, even if I'm stumbling through it. And then the next day I knew with rehearsals and whatever, and knowing that we can cut and whatever, I could always get to it. But we were doing an audition, a tape for something, a self tape for an audition or something. And she goes, "You need to learn your lines." And I went, "No, I'm getting this." She goes, "You need to learn your lines. You're getting older. You know, you're searching for the lines is no longer looking like your thoughtfulness in the scene. It's looking like searching for lines." And I went, "Oh, okay." Again, like my sister did, a little like wake up call years ago. And I really started really getting the lines like you do when you do theater. I mean, you don't go do theater with 90% of it in there. You know the lines, which allows you night after night to really just explore. So that's the technical side of it. The other side is I just feel like there's this character as we're facing our last act, if you will, and the ticking clock that's going to it. And I see it as a commonality amongst all people our age. And in some cases, it starts a little earlier with people. There's just so much. Now I have all this experience and all this life and all this, stuff to put into it. As opposed to when I was younger, it was like, I want to be, I wish I was, I can, when you've had it, there's something I don't know. There's something to tap into that. It's and every character that I'm given, whether it's Lincoln Lawyer, this Reggie Dinkins that I did, or certainly Friends and Neighbors scene with John Hamm. One of them that were sitting in the airplane. I mean, I'm telling a younger guy who's 20 younger than me. I used to be like you and wait, your time will come. And that's like I was just talking to John about our lives, and is it acting? Sure. People say, "Were you acting?" I go, "Well, yeah. I mean, cameras are rolling. I'm acting. I'm not Corbin. I'm, this guy Jack." Um, but you can step into those shoes, and again, if you know your words, and you can just, God, you can just, you just you just reveal not even explore it. You just open up about it, and I'm enjoying that. So
Well, I've enjoyed this. I mean, you're a philosopher. I love that, and I mean, everyone should be a philosopher, but there are people who just sail along with no introspection. And did I trample on somebody? Get out of the way. No, sorry, just get out of the way.
yeah, right.
This has been Corbin Bernsen, a very, very special guest on Paid to Dream. Please click like, please subscribe, and Corbin, I hope to have you back again.
We will when I have my newest project, Woodstockers, that I wrote and created, and a new series that is
Good.
hopefully coming to you soon.
Good. Okay. Bye bye.
Peace.